you, Madam Toastmaster. And good morning, fellow Toastmasters and all our guests this morning. A little bit about myself. I grew up in a small town of Fairview, Illinois, population just 500 people. It's the sort of town where people don't have to lock their doors at night and everybody knows everybody. After graduating high school, I attended Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, which is 3 hours away down by St. Louis. I was there 2.5 years and I just declared my major in mechanical engineering, but I wasn't really certain. I didn't know if that was really the path. I didn't have the vision of being a mechanical engineer. I didn't really know anybody that was that. It's maybe some of you can relate. You're down a path that's more driven by your friends, your family, and your teachers. And it's the you should, you ought that really drive that. And so that's at that point, that's where I found myself. I went back it was Christmas break that year. I went back to my parents' house and a Navy recruiter had stopped by to visit my younger brother who was at that time trying to figure out his path forward. And long story short, my brother did not join the Navy, and rather it was me that was marching in the freezing colds of boot camp 3 months later. So after surviving boot camp, I transferred to Charleston, South Carolina. I was there in the Navy's nuclear training program. And that for 1 year, you learn a trade. It's intense classroom training. You learn a trade. You learn the theory behind a nuclear reactor and operating a nuclear reactor. And then you go 6 months in a school where you're actually performing and qualifying on a real live nuclear reactor plant. And if you're not familiar, probably a lot of people are not familiar with the Navy and its nuclear power program. So every submarine and every aircraft carrier has at least one nuclear power plant or nuclear reactor in their propulsion plant. So I graduated, completed that training there, and I went to my first ship, which was an aircraft carrier stationed in Norfolk, Virginia. And a little over 4 years I was on that ship, I went on 3 6-month deployments. So I got to see a lot of European countries and was able to visit several of the countries in the Middle East as well. Nearing the end of my time in the Navy, we pulled into Key West, and then a couple of days later, we went to Fort Lauderdale. That was the first time I'd been to those places. And I knew at that point, like, wow, South Florida is amazing. I want to live in Florida. And sure enough, I got out of the Navy and I moved. I had friends that were living in Orlando, so I moved to Orlando. In 2004, I met my soon-to-be wife, who we got married in June of 2005. So the 25th of this coming month will be our 16th wedding anniversary. Now, me and my wife, we don't have children, so like traveling and doing trips has sort of been our thing. So from 2005 to 2008, I had a job that allowed us to the benefit to. We were able to live several months in South Florida. We lived several months in Hong Kong, in Singapore, and then we spent almost a year in my wife's hometown or her country. She's from Peru, so we spent a whole year, almost a whole year, living in Lima, Peru, which was a great benefit for me because out of necessity, I had to learn or become fairly fluent in Spanish, right? Because the whole time I was down there, my wife was the only person I really could speak English with. All her family, none of her family knew any English. So it was a great experience and a great benefit for me living in Orlando and even Florida in general, right? Because I can use Spanish every day if I really wanted to here. So 2008, right, that was when the start of what we now know as the Great Recession, right before things got a little crazy. I started with my current employer. It was a new job doing as a field engineer. And as part of that job from 2008 to just this past December, I was traveling 80% of the world, or 80% of the time. And I got to do some cool projects in some amazing places. I did 3 cool projects up in beautiful Ontario, Canada. I spent almost 2 years in Amsterdam, which is an amazing and unique place in itself. I got to go back to Singapore for a job, and then I did several large projects out in Western US. But after 8 years of lots of travel and pretty stressful projects, these are long-term, complicated projects. And then my wife and I, we adopted our little fur baby, Shipu. We rescued him off the streets of Lima, Frankie, who's not, usually he's right here with me, but it was that and then with the pandemic, and then I didn't stop. I was traveling back and forth in a project the whole 2020. So for me, it was a little crazier, but my project I was on never once stopped. So an opportunity came up late last year where I came up and I took it. But it's a sales role. And I knew when I took this job, I needed to work on my communication skills. I needed to work on my presentation skills and my public speaking skills. So that's when, like a lot of you, I started researching and I found Hunters Creek Toastmasters. And that's why I'm really here with you all. I want to learn the skills. I want to practice the skills, and I want to grow with you all. So that's my story. I appreciate you allowing me to share that story with you, and I look forward to growing with you all. Thank you so much.
Good morning, my fellow Toastmasters and guest, Josh. I identify myself with you so much because in my own personal work, I had been able to travel almost as much as probably you, from Singapore to Australia and all South America and Europe and Canada and all of that. So I'm one of those that also have a map with lots of colors in it. And that's the best requirement for any human being to become intercultural competent when they want to be a great speaker. And you don't have to travel much, because these days we can travel on the internet and know about cultures, but it's important to know cultural diversity in order to deliver messages that will set a proper tone and convey a message to an audience. And you did that today. Is your icebreaker, so it will be easy on you. Normally we're very kind to the icebreakers and then we get tougher as we go. But you did excellent. Your message was very well constructed. You gave us a story from who you are. Where do you want to be as a Toastmasters? I have a background noise. Yes. And in your goals, you press the importance of making sure that you work on communication, in your presentation skills, and your public speaking. Guess what? You got to the right place. You made the right choice by being here. I really love the fact that you weave into your story your family and the importance of that in your life, your job. Well, in an icebreaker, it's important to have a fullness of who you are, what do you want out of Toastmasters, and how we can support you for success. That's what we want to know when somebody gives an icebreaker. I have no doubt that this club will be serving you as a support system for you to achieve that you want. But better yet, we will do that with love and care, because now you allow us to know you better. And we know exactly why you want to accomplish those things. Well done on your icebreaker. Your clarity was up to par. Your vocabulary was good. You centered yourself very well on the screen. You really have very little to work when it comes to being in front of others. Maybe a little bit of nerves, but that's what we're here for. We will support you in that journey. Congratulations and well done on your icebreaker. Back to you, Oscar, as General Evaluator.